What is going on YouTube? This is Acid Roots. So I'm going to review the seventh album by rapper Lil Wayne. Basically, this product is called Rebirth, and it came out in the winter of 2010. So the thing about this particular product is just the fact that this was originally going to be called the Carter 3, the Rebirth, which is supposed to be like an expansion of the Carter 3 album in 2008. It's supposed to come out in 2008. Took a little bit of time. Lil Wayne got arrested in 2007, which the court case and the aspects about that particular stuff didn't manifest until him going to prison until like the winter of 2010. Basically, Lil Wayne had a series of projects that were going to come out in 2010. Like the Young Money album was coming out around that time. He had disfound Drake the year before, which is a pretty good pitch. And like the Carter 4 was supposed to come out, and then this particular album was supposed to come out, Rebirth. So it was an excellent concept, kind of get all these particular projects. A lot of big deals going on with Cash Money, Young Money, 2009, 2010. Definitely some good pitches. Birdman also dropped around this time, so it's just an excellent type concept, plenty of good stuff to kind of have, particularly the Young Money album. Eventually, for a little while, the Young Money album is going to be packaged with this particular album, Rebirth, as well, as far as pictures like that kind of happen. I look after it, but it eventually became its own separate project, which I'm definitely glad for. I'm glad that this album particularly manifested because this is kind of pseudo, like low key, like a revolutionary album. This is one of those albums. Like I can't think of it like in particular, but it's kind of one of those albums that I think later on, years later, when we reflect distantly in the future, is going to be seen as like a low key kind of classic album. This is sort of stuff that like Queen or Prince would kind of do, something like that, where initially, like when you think of like Weezer's Pinkerton or something like that, that people did not like Pinkerton by Weezer. I can't think of too many albums that kind of had that particular issue at this particular time, but Weezer's Pinkerton was an album that when it came out like in 1996 or two that yeah 1996 or so, it took like years, 4 years later to finally realize that that was like a 5-star album. I think the same sort of impact. Rebirth doesn't really get the respect that it necessarily needs, and it's too bad because Lil Wayne was kind of doing a lot of this. This is definitely like an emo rap staple when you think of some of those folks like Lil Uzi Vert and like XXX Temptation, some of those type folks that manifest in like the SoundCloud era, folks like Juice World, some of those type folks. This is a big affluential type project that just nailed that sort of stuff. There weren't too many rappers going emo rap and pitches like that, alternative rap, Hot Topic, and Spirit Halloween type fare back in prior to about late 2008 to early prior to about late 2008, early 2009 when Lil Wayne started doing it. It was just a good pitch. I do feel like the Carter 3 album is also a good Hot Topic type. The Carter 3 album from 2008 is also another good Hot Topic era type album to get in particular as far as pitches like that going to happen. But this one really had some affluence. It's a real dominant classic type album. And I look after the concept behind it. This is something that just doesn't really get like the standard accolades as far as nowadays time's going to happen. I mean, these songs at least charted because Lil Wayne was ubiquitous in 2008, 2009. So in the Carter 3, Drake, Young Money, Nicki Minaj, some of those type folks that he particularly was affiliated with. But I look after this as just one that just is kind of seen as more. I look at the critic reviews of this particular product, and most of them kind of gave it like 2 stars out of 5, something like that. When you look after like Entertainment Weekly giving it like a D plus, all music giving it like 2 stars out of 5. The Guardian, Los Angeles Times. Is not to say that like those critics don't have their particular merits, but I think this is just a really underappreciated type project that just the affluence behind it just really does have like its appeal that this is not commonly as full blown necessarily facilitated. And I just look after that. It's definitely like the concept here. Did a lot of things, had 5 singles, it's definitely a pretty big deal. So once again, if you're a fan of like more alternative rap, if you like things like Blood on the Dance Floor, if you like things like Fall Out Boy, Panic at the Disco, some of those type pitches, Broken Side, just folks like that, Marilyn Manson, some of that type of stuff. This is definitely like the Lil Wayne album to go for after like the Carter 3 kind of dries up as far as pitches like that kind of happen. But it is a different taste. I mean, this is not, I mean, Lil Wayne does rap a little bit on here, but it's more reserved. It's auto-tune drenched, so it's a good concept kind of get that. I do like the concept of the auto-tune mixed with like some alternative rock, as far as pitches like that can happen. But this album only went platinum, which is too bad, which is just kind of the concept. But yeah, underappreciated, definitely needs more accolades, I'd have to say. So we'll talk about this and you'll kind of see what I'm talking about. It's just the concept of this being like a trailblazing type project, and definitely nowadays is seen as a more revolutionary project than the initial kind of aspect that it kind of had. But yeah, there were 5 singles. The first one was Prom Queen. Basically, this came out in like the winter of 2009. So this promotion cycle of this particular album lasted for a good while, but it's a pretty good pitch here. Prom Queen is like an alternative rock unwind. I'd have to say it's a good relief to kind of get after like some workshift glaze as far as that pitch kind of happens. A lot of the sounds pretty glazed on here. I like the auto tune mixed along with this. There's some good concepts. This Lil Wayne having some of that makeshift type fare. Lil Wayne definitely perfected this and mastered this a lot better on like the Carter 4 with songs like How to Love and She Will and some of those type ones, and like Mirror and some of those type ones off the Carter 4. But I would definitely have to say like the concept of this particular stuff, definitely if you're looking for like alternative dredge that like folks like Papa Roach and Nickelback, some of those type folks kind of do within that alternative rock type fashion. There's some good stuff here. It's definitely a good one to smoke one too. This is a surprising makeshift highlight, I would have to say, and this is like a nice spice to kind of get here. Good concept for that. So this is definitely, for the time, this is definitely more revolutionary and trailblazing than probably what was initially thought as far as pitches like that kind of happened. But I just can't think of too many folks that really did. I mean, yeah, you had folks like Kid Rock and you had folks like Rage Against the Machine and Cypress Hill that did some rap rock here and there, but this is a lot more alternative. Like I feel like Lil Wayne was one of the first ones to kind of do emo rap compared to like the stuff when that subgenre really exploded in like the mid 2010s and pitches like that. So this is just a good send off for that. Real nice glaze of one. If you just like the standard glaze of like 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock p.m., but just that unwind and listening to standard rock on the radio. If you like Lil Wayne, but you want something rock oriented, this is a good concept. Just a nice single to kind of get. Good smoke one too. And On Fire is the second single. It's another nice one. Now, this one's really 80s oriented. I like that particular concept. So Lil Wayne has a good taste of rock music, not just alternative, but some other good stuff in there. It's like a throwback kind of 80s glam rock haze of a song, I'd have to say. Nice rock, glamorous feel. I would definitely feel about it. Just some good concepts. It's real kind of emphatic type one to kind of get here. Blue Blood esque kind of within that fashion is something that like the Police or some of those type folks would do. The ones that did Push It to the Limit. I know Police didn't do Push It to the Limit, but folks like Police and Push It to the Limit folks and some of those type folks from like the 80s, it's a good concept for that. It's like a good moody emo rap trailblazing hitter of a song, I'd say. So just nice pitch, kind of get that here. Another nice one too. I mean, this is kind of an underappreciated type one, but it just works pretty well to kind of have that. Definitely some good concepts kind of get towards and to see the standout type appeal of some of this. I mean, I look after it. It does have the casual appeal. If you do have like a standard taste for rock music, just depending upon the context of it, I'd say this would probably work pretty well. About the only real thing I would think about is just the fact that if folks just don't like auto-tune and feel like Lil Wayne's not that good of a singer, that's about the only context behind it. But I think this auto-tune type stuff really works pretty well. It's definitely pretty popular. 2008, 2000. I have no problem with it. I look after the T-Pain and Future and Lil Wayne type stuff that kind of went around between 2007, 2012. It's really not that bad. I mean, I realize that a lot of folks do that a lot nowadays, but a lot of this did have like its effectualness just within. I mean, this was one of the originators of kind of doing that. I mean, apart from T-Pain, there really weren't too many folks using auto-tune in 2008, 2009. So it's just initial kickoff. That's this kind of thing. This is here and there the concept of whether or not folks adore Lil Wayne singing. I don't have a problem with it. I just feel like, there's the auto-tune haters that kind of go along with that, but it's some good stuff. So Da 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 is the third single. It's another nice one. It's like a good hangout kind of Kickstarter. I would definitely feel like this like an alternative rock social noise kind of get here. This is definitely a pretty festive album. I like some of these hangout type songs. This takes it back to like Alice in Chains and Metallica type fare, some of those type pitches. I mean, this is not necessarily like a metal song, but it is an underappreciated kind of late day litness bop to kind of get here, just to kind of have some good concepts, some basic kind of hop and bop type energy to kind of have for that relative aspect. This real get together type one to some aspects of just the initial drinking system, smoke a few initial type moments, PlayStation type music, just picking up a pizza, something like that. Some of those good type fares. Knockout, Knockout is the fourth single. This has Nicki Minaj on there. It's pretty nice bop to kind of get here. It's definitely one of the more popular songs according to Spotify, I'd have to say. There's like an emo rap and kind of alternative standout on this particular album. I would definitely feel like this has a lot of gliss and appeal. This is one of the bigger charting songs on here, along with Prom Queen and Drop the World. Definitely some nice ones for that. It's like a durable kind of house party and fraternized energy, I would say, about this one. It's another good social type one to kind of get. A little bit more house party type in mind, I'd have to say. Just a good concept for some of that type fare. If you like folks like Broken Side, Blood on the Dance Floor, Attack, some of those emo rap type ones, Dropping a Pop Locket, some of those type folks. There was someone else I reviewed recently back, Curve, some of those type folks that I'd say. So it's some good concepts kind of get some of that, but it's definitely some Friday Night's energy, like I was saying. Good get crunk and kind of hot topic type fare to kind of have for some of this. So it's just an excellent type concept, just real blissful type energy. Nicki Minaj fits on this song pretty well. Also, I'd have to say, it's just a good concept for that. Do you like the appeal? This is probably one of Lil Wayne's bigger songs. I'd have to say is seemingly in like the alternative rap or like the alternative type fold, I'd have to say. I mean, I realize that the Carter 3 is pretty huge. I think there's probably folks out there that do like the Carter 2 and like Father like some of those type ones, but this is definitely like a good crossover type one that just has like that sort of alternative aspect. real nice staple to kind of get. This is a standout. This is a good standout amongst this particular album. But then so is Prom Queen and I'll Die for You and some of those type ones. And Drop the World is another nice one. But yeah, Drop the World is the fifth single. This has Eminem on there, which is a pretty good pitch. It's like a taste of Eminem that wasn't quite recovery era, but also wasn't relapse refill. This was kind of a random era. I don't know exactly when Eminem did this verse, but it's probably this makes me question if he was doing that like in 2009, because it's just the concept that he wasn't really working on recovery in 2009. This was something that just randomly spurred in March of 2010 or so, which, this album came out before March of 2010, so it's kind of thing. But yeah, Drop the World is like a random, but kind of, Drop the World is like a random, but superb kind of wheezy and shady collabo. I would definitely have to say it's like an emo rap kind of house party pitch of the night type gem. It's like an emo rap kind of house party pitch of the night type gem to kind of get when the just when the night's at like its complete apex of craziness and pitches like that, especially the energy of this particular song just feels surreal in some senses. Good concept for that, and it's like a good song to pop some drink, pop some bottles, some pitches like that. Get some keg stands going, some hard liquor, some of that type fare. I do like these house party gems on here, but like Da Da Da, Knockout, Drop the World, some nice ones for that, and then like Prom Queen and On Fire, like some good commerce type ones to kind of get within that aspect. This kind of workshift on wine. Yeah, this has some good energy on here. It's interesting kind of get Lil Wayne on some house party type vibes because that's one aspect that the Carter 3 didn't have, some pitches like that. So it's an interesting concept with Lil Wayne with like his newfound commercial and household name type aspects to see him kind of be on like some house party type fare. Some excellent concepts there. Basically, I'm reviewing the deluxe edition, which has 14 songs. And out of those 14 songs, I wound up recommending 13. So it's really only one song I don't recommend in any fashion. That's just the song Ground Zero, which this one was just like a write-off to like Rage Against the Machine. There's a couple songs on here that kind of have similar templates to Rage Against the Machine. I'd have to say I at least like American Star. That's a nice rendition of that, but Ground Zero just didn't nail it quite as well for me. It was just a concept. This was the similarities behind it. I feel like Lil Wayne just nails the alternative rock a little bit better than like rap rock, like new metal type stuff. It's not to say that I don't think he can't do it at all, but it just felt a little bit more of like a cumbersome type one. But yeah, this album gets a 10 out of 10. I would definitely have to say 13 out of 14 on here is definitely 10 out of 10 territory. It just is hand over fist success. I'd have to say this over and over again, just the concepts of some of these particular aspects, this being a highlighted type project. Once again, I feel like this album trailblazed like the concept of emo rap coming onto the scene and some pitches like that. Just the aspect of some of these blissful type ones is really was like the grassroots of like was really like the grassroots of a lot of rappers kind of being emo and pitches like that. So this definitely did some of that. It was quality on here. I feel like I don't want to say it has like a full blown acquired taste when I say that about folks like Migos and Young Thug and pitches like that, or like certain rock albums, some of those type pitches I look after. It's just, I look after it. If you have a good enough taste for Lil Wayne and you like autotune within a relative sense, but I really don't even feel like at all like the autotune is really like a natch to this particular project. I just look after it as just kind of the concept that it's pseudo rock, pseudo rap just within the blend, but it melds those particular two things extremely well, I'd say. So that's a good concept for that. But we'll get to some of these. So a real nice highlight on here, which is on the deluxe edition, which I do definitely recommend getting the deluxe edition because I recommend both those songs. I'll Die for You. This has a lot of good commercial appeal about it. It's like a good new wave, like 80s car commerce type tune to kind of get. This reminds me a lot of How to Love, not quite as peppy as How to Love, but just the commerce of Just Like One. Reminds me also of Post Malone's Circles from 2020. Just a standard kind of moody car commerce type one to kind of get where you're just kind of singing in the car along with it and just kind of humming along, just pitched like that, and you eventually get energized from it. It's just a real nice emo type one. It's like a pop rock radio ready gem. I would definitely feel like this is definitely like a marketable emo bop to kind of get here. So this one just has the appeal behind it. It's really nice chart appeal to kind of have for some of that. This wasn't a single, but it probably could have been. I just feel like this aspect is kind of an ignored type one. This is something that proved that Lil Wayne has like the songwriting ability just to have some of these type ones. It's very much radio snap pitches like that. There's some ones on here that do have some of that breakout type energy. I feel like Prom Queen, Drop the World, Knockout, I'll Die for You, some of these type ones. I'd probably even say in some senses like Paradise is another nice one for some of those type ones, I'd have to say. But there's surprisingly more ones on here that have some of that kind of energy that could be like commercial, like something like U2 or something like U2 the band and like Queen and some of those type folks that did some of those this 80s and this overall 90s rock staples that have just been constantly played. But Paradise is a nice song. Speaking of that one, it's like a glazed and kind of overcast alternative metal sounding Traverse song, I'd have to say. It's like a simple kind of errands and rumination type song to kind of get here. And this is a good one to smoke one too, I'd have to say. The thing about this particular product is it's not as much of like a full-blown kind of get tore up type album. It's not as much like a full-blown kind of get tore up type product. It's a lot more like the commerce is definitely on here. There are some house party type songs on here like Da Da Da, Knockout, and Drop the World, some of those type pitches, but I look after it. It also has like the concept of like straightforwardness, just kind of about it, just standard day. This is like your loud pack to like liking Lil Wayne, liking alternative, hot topic type fair pitches like that kind of gothic emo type pitch, but also just the concept of steadfast kind of work a day. And I like the concept of getting some of these on here. I feel like some of that is just interesting hearing Lil Wayne do a song like Nickelback or like Stained or some of those type folks. Paradise is definitely like that, and I feel like Running is definitely like that as well. And I like these Chanel features on here. She was a part of Young Money, but she didn't ever really drop an album, which is too bad because she was definitely alternative rock for the long. She was like the alternative one out of Young Money that I remember. I remember she had like a nose ring that was kind of in like her pocket that was like a chain to her nose or something like that. It was a pretty good concept, kind of get that. But yeah, I'd have to say she did at least drop mixtapes. I'll have to get to some of those. But yeah, I just would have to say Running's another nice one. It's like a good pairing with like Paradise, I would definitely have to say. It's like an alternative metal kind of cloudy day rumination. I would feel like it's like a bills get paid kind of situate type gem to kind of get here. So both these are just kind of more moody type ones. Is the aspect of it. This standard alternative metal type fare. So it's a good concept. I mean, Lil Wayne has a pretty good affluence of like the gloss of like standard shifts and tides of like metal as far as that pitch kind of happens, or at least alternative rock, some of that type fare. Just within that, I'd have to say. But American Star is a nice one. It's like a summary kind of Rage Against the Machine hop and bop. I would definitely feel like with like a Mooney with like a Rage Against the Machine hop and bop with like a moody kind of alternative glaze about it. And this is just a nice venture. So it's just standard type fare. If you do miss like that 1991, 1994 type vibes of Rage Against the Machine, some of that type pitch. If you wonder what Lil Wayne would sound like on Limp Bizkit and Sugar Ray and Rage Against the Machine type productions, this is a good one for that sort of concept. Good pitch for that. This summary type energy. Cypress Hill is kind of doing that too. Get a Life is a pretty nice one. It's like a jivey, feel good emo rap bounce of a song, I'd have to say. Basic kind of daytime house party energy is another nice one to kind of have for some social type fare. This is definitely like a Get Supplies excitement type song to kind of get here, and this is just a good cut for that. So yeah, this would have to say definitely a good shindig type fare to kind of Get a Life. Real nice bot for that sort of appeal, I'd have to say. Do like some of that social type energy of it. And then One Way Trip is a nice one. This is like a nightclub bounce. Definitely feel like this kind of goes along with Drop the World, I'd have to say. It's a little bit more peppy of one, a little bit more just standard nightclub bounce, but I do like the appeal behind it. I feel like maybe Drop the World's a little bit more house party, just crazy pitch of the night, but this one's a little bit more entry, 8:30, 9:30 p.m. pitches like that, where Drop the World's more midnight, 1:30. But I feel like One Way Trip is definitely some good nightclub bounce and energy. I would have to say it's like a good peppery times on the town. I would definitely feel like some radiant times to kind of get this, like some good rock glamour to kind of have. I like the fact Kevin Rudolph being on this particular song. I want to say that Kevin Rudolph at least dropped an album or two, something like that. I remember he was kind of affiliated with Cash Money for a while, so that was some affiliation that kind of went along with it there. Lil Wayne did a few songs with them, good pitch for that, so that's a good concept there. Some nice nightclub type energy. I feel like, yeah, this album is a lot more house party bound, more so than like nightclub type bops. If you're looking for something like Lollipop or Got Money by Lil Wayne, some of those type pitches, I feel like the closest thing to that on here would probably be One Way Trip with maybe like a taste of Drop the World. But I feel like a lot of this is like more kind of Red Cup and like Crown Royal type pitches, Jack Daniels type pitches, more house party type grades, which is a good concept, like I said, because Lil Wayne on like his rap albums kind of does more nightclub and just stunt and flex type floss. I'd say it was a good concept here to get some of this just more localized. And then I'm So Overused, another highlight as well. It's like a good rev, kind of get ready to turn up commotion. I would definitely feel like about this one. It's definitely like some evening excitement, I'd have to say, and it's like a good workshift unwind. I would feel like it's a good song to get crunk to. So it's just excellent type concept. This one, along with Prom Queen, are some nice ones. Probably On Fire. I feel like songs like Prom Queen, On Fire, and I'm So Over You are like some good evening excitement to get ready to get turned up a bit and just have the concept of just ditching like the work shift and switching to flip mode as far as pitches like that kind of happens. Some good concepts. I mean, it's not so much ditching like the work shift, like, oh, work sucks, I hate it, that type pitch, but just the concept of saying, all right, you know, it's 5 p.m. or 5:15 p.m. I'm going to go get crunk, figure out what I'm going to do for the evening, pitches like that. Just some good concepts. Go pick up some swishers, go get like some Taco Bell, some of those type pitches just to be able to have and just get ready to turn up a bit, call up some homies or some chicas, some pitches like that. Good sort of fare. Yeah, I think I covered just about every song off this particular album that I recommend as far as pitches like that kind of happen. Yeah, I think I did. So yeah, this album gets a 10 out of 10. The social score is going to get a 10 out of 10 also. I feel like it's just 10s across the board because I look after this as revolutionary. Just had some great stuff on here. I like the house party energy. It's a different taste of what Lil Wayne was kind of offering around this particular time. So it's a great concept kind of to see some kind of original type stuff and just have it hit the nail on the head as extreme as it particularly kind of does. Some excellent type fares. It's pretty crazy. Maybe not as Blitzkrieg type crazy, but it's relatively close. I definitely feel like Lil Wayne at least gets pretty wild on this particular album. It may not have like the sheer kind of carnivorous. I feel like Drop the World and possibly One Way Trip are the closest thing to like sheer blown craziness. I mean, it may not be Juicy J and kind of like dot dot curve extreme craziness, but it definitely has a pretty good aspect to have some of this for like a good house party rendition, just some good stuff for like. But it's kind of vanilla alternative rock, but I like the concept of it. It's just a good aspect that it's edgy for Lil Wayne. It's definitely a good concept to kind of have some of that. So it's definitely the social vibes on here, the nightclub or the house party bounce and like the makeshift unwind and the workshift kind of disc traverse and just figure out what you're going to do in pitches like that, get some bills paid, just those aspects, get the cell phone bill paid, some of that type fare really does that. And along with some good, there's more than a few good singles on here that do have some of that commercial radio ready appeal also. So it's just some good concept. Just a lot of this is just pretty classy and just overall the aspect of it really has the charm and just execution. So that happens to be a thing. So in terms of the future, like Lil Wayne put out a couple projects in the fall of 2023. I don't know what he's up to right now. I want to say that he dropped like a greatest hits album in like the spring of 2024, some pitches like that, like a greatest hits album with like a new song with DMX. But I look after it like he's supposedly working on like the Carter 6. It'll be interesting to see what happens there as far as pitches like that kind of happen. We'll get to some more of these. I am going to start this. I do have more projects like I Am Not a Human Being 2 and 500 Degrees to get to, and then some more of the Drought Is Over mixtape, some of those type fairs. So there's plenty more of these to kind of get to, but this is a classic. I would have to say it's this kind of concept. I wouldn't listen. I would definitely think the critics maybe. I do think the critics are overly harsh with this particular product, and this is one that needs This is one that needs a recent kind of deep dive to reevaluate and say that this is probably a classic, and it's just very underrated and underappreciated in today's times. Trailblazing.